Time of recording this, some scandal broke loose and was announced in ESPN that 5 former World Junior Hockey players for the country of Canada were accused of doing some things with a young woman, let's just say constitutes a violation of epic proportions. And in this discussion here on TSP, we're not making any determinations of guilt or innocence in this case.
Nope.
But what we want to talk about are some of the things that the alleged victim claims happened in this encounter. And so I was thinking about this, Cap. When I watched your video on the locker room, so that people know what we're talking about. We'll put the link in the description down below. I just looked at the accusation, and then I thought to myself, in the possibility that there was no violation here, but it was consensual. Just saying, if it was to be consensual, Cap, does this let these guys off the hook for being just bad guys? Because when you look at what the woman claims that these guys did, even if it was consensual and there were no alcohol involved or anything like that, right? It's kind of messed up that 8 guys could come together and say, you know what? I think I feel comfortable engaging with this woman, even if she asked, that they do this thing, right?
Right.
So me and you got to talking, and it was like, wow, this would be a really great thing to talk about with our viewers about corn and corn's.
You should know. Yeah, you should know what that means if you're watching this video.
Yeah.
We got to be careful what we say.
Yeah, we have to use the YouTube friendly words. The rise of Cornhub and other adult sites, where it just seems like we have messed up our view of physical intimacy to the point where we're having guys and girls from a young age getting involved in certain acts that really don't move the experience towards mutual ecstasy. And it's just, you can't, you look at like how the expectations of these things are warped in not just what the party should be expecting to experience, but also what a woman's body is supposed to look and feel and act like,
right?
In the interaction, and also what a man is supposed to look and feel like, and how long he is supposed to be able to engage in all of these things. It just seems like this. It's like this underbelly of our modern puritanical society has really warped our expectation of what physical intimacy is actually supposed to be.
So I think, because we were talking on the phone about this, and I said that I think the corn industry, the corn culture, has adversely affected young people. I mean, even people actually around.
Sorry, I'm thinking about a bowl of creamed corn. You said corn. Sorry.
But when it kind of comes down to it, is that I think it has had a negative adverse effect to society. That let's just go, because again, I'm not condemning, exonerating, or anything about that situation. We're taking it as, let's say, a similar situation, but completely consensual, right? I still think that's a massive mistake.
Yes.
Right. Like, what makes young men, like 5 to 7, 8 dudes, want to run a train on a same woman in the mere, like, minutes with one another? I think that we have become so desensitized with the, I would say, sexual culture in society.
I'm sorry, like, I'm trying to keep a straight face.
It's
you
hard.
Say run a train, and I couldn't keep a straight face anymore.
It's fine. But I'm just being honest. That's what That's what happened. Like that.
Right.
In that certain situation, is that you had multiple dudes engage with sexual acts with one woman within a very short span time. Like, they're in the room together.
Right.
And I think a lot of this stems from like corn addiction, where these guys, like, they need the very most excessive, like, acts to even get any type of climax from it.
Right.
And it's a problem. I think even if consensual, there is something wrong with you if you're like, yo, hey, Doug. Yeah, what's up, Bob? You want to just, like, you see that chick over there? You want to, like, get me and, like, Thomas over there and we can just run train together and go in the hotel? Like, it's
You
weird.
didn't just make a Thomas the Tank Engine reference. You didn't just do that.
I didn't mean to, but that, I guess I
We're trying to have a serious conversation here, okay?
I'm not trying to, I mean, that was completely unintentional, but kind of funny now. I think what it kind of comes down to it is those men still have issues inside of them if that's how they have to get fulfillment. I just think overall it's not a good look, and it's something I imploring young men, I'm even imploring like even young women, do not get involved. Don't put yourself in these situations. Don't. It's really not worth it. What you think is a sexual thrill is only going to be very short-lived, and it's going to get to the point where you're going to have to keep doing more insane stuff to really feel a high off of it, to get a real thrill out of it. Overall, kind of to your point, it doesn't really make much sense. And I do think you could say, and I honestly do kind of believe this, even if it is consensual, I don't think you're necessarily a great person if that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I don't think that, they should be, found guilty just based upon the fact that they were willing to engage if it was consensual. But there's really no, I cannot look at what was claimed, even from a consensual angle, and think, wow, these are great guys.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't. And, and the thing is, you look at how women view these things, because women also partake a lot in, the corn hub type stuff.
A lot, yeah. A lot of young women.
They have like these really outlandish expectations of a man's sexual stamina. They have these crazy expectations of phallus size. Like I've seen women make these exorbitant demands on the length and girth, and the numbers that a lot of these women are pulling out there are like the 0.007% of men who have medical conditions that can only reach that kind of size through having some sort of
procedure or
I mean, sometimes at least for the professionals, because I used to have a friend that was in the corn game. These guys are like having surgeries and implants.
It's just not,
and
working.
even the guys that are naturally that long, they have problems with rigidity, because it's not meant to be that length or that size, right? So you actually have women that are in the dating game. Oh, if you're not at least blah blah blah, and it's like, do you know just how few men, like, people do not understand that the average phallus length is just shy of 5 inches. 4.95 inches, the average phallus length.
Yeah.
And so what you end up happening is, of course, there is there are the average for certain guys of certain races are different, but then you get the fetishization of different races of sometimes of women. Also, you get the unfair fetishizations of certain men, where those people are not even really looked at as people.
Human beings. Well, and I think it can go both ways too, right? Like, women, a lot of young men have unrealistic expectations out of young women, and they really don't. They think it's just some corn scene where they can just go to town and just like slam it in there. Like, that's not how it works. That is not how that shit works. And I think, quite frankly, again, it has had a negative effect on society, and that's why you got to be very careful with your intake. And we could, you could even have due to the last couple of years with that virus I can't name on YouTube, it has, I think, negatively impacted. I know, like, the case we're talking about is 2018, but I think right now even we've seen more corn addiction, more OnlyFans, more people spending money to have some type of parasocial relationship, right? I think it's negatively impacted the youth. And, you know, maybe in this case, you can't really put that there, but it does, as someone that, you know, wants to be a father, like one of the biggest things I would try to get across, like, listen, like that's great. Like in scenes and stuff like that. It's all like imagination and it's director. Like don't ever,
just like a movie.
Do not ever put yourself in the situation to have just don't ever put yourself in that situation, because first off, there's legal ramifications if someone wants to use it as blackmail. You have to make sure there's consent. I mean, even if there's consent, it's not a great look. And quite frankly, I don't know. It doesn't really do much for you, in my personal opinion. Like
yeah, maybe... I think that it has its place. But at the same time, I do believe that just with anything in the world, balance is key. And I do believe that the consumption has gotten to the point of excessive mental illness. Yeah, it's excessive to the point of mental illness that many people are not going to run out there and try to get diagnosed for it. And so I just think that it had its place, but we need to have just a little bit more balance. But then again, when you look at how messed up the dating market is, it's going to be really difficult to find balance, because the vast majority of men have been priced out or hided out of the dating market. You know, not tall enough, not rich enough, not charismatic enough. So I don't really know what the long-term answer is, because if that's the only access that you have for your physical needs being met in that way, if corn is the only way that you can get that need met, who am I to say that you should just cut down on it or cut it out? It's a very delicate subject. That I just think that it needs to be addressed, but this is why we have TSP, right?
But I think you can watch corn, right? You know, you watch like a lot of corn if you really want to, right? I don't think it's healthy. But I think, quite frankly, sometimes you have to understand fantasies are what they are.
Yes.
Fantasies. And sometimes bringing them into reality, there's a lot of negative consequences for that. And it's just everything, you know what? Just like anything, it's all good with moderation, right?
Right.
Everything is good in moderation. If you're literally not having a social life and just watching that stuff for like 10 hours a day. Like, I'm just saying, no, there are people like that. Like, they're very, very addicted. Just a little bit of moderation and have realistic expectations, because quite frankly, like, do you really get much fulfillment out of performing like these acts, like with multiple partners? It's very weird for me. And it's maybe I'm not really the best person to even have this conversation with, you know, because, you know, I'm monogamous, I'm with my wife and all that. So
it doesn't stop monogamous men. As a matter of fact, guys who get married end up having to watch a lot of corn, because once you walk down that aisle, for a lot of guys, that is the end of the sexual interactions with that woman.
Yeah, I mean, for some people, I guess, but I think when it kind of comes down to it, you also have to, and I'm just more speaking for men on, you got to keep things exciting and fresh in different ways. I'm not going to really expand on that, but, you know, I think, quite frankly, maybe I'm not the best person to speak this, but just from experience, I think kind of having more real relationships, kind of learning how like a real person is, I think that's far more gratifying than just somebody, I don't know, just some weird video that you think like that's how women interact. I don't know. I've seen some, just with this case in particular, I think it's kind of, how corn has become so big, maybe kind of impacted how they acted in that, how excited they were about that. First I'll just say this, just from an honest, real standpoint, I think it's fucking weird. Like, I think that's fucking weird. Can I say this? It's like 15 minutes into this recording. I think it's weird that I'd ever want to have a dude in the same room with me when I'm with the girl. Right? Am I crazy?
You're not going to be able to get it up in a room full of men.
No, it's weird. I just personally, I think that's weird. Like, I think like I'm just about like one-on-one, and maybe that's just me. But like,
I don't even like taking pisses in urinals when there's like 12 different urinals, like at City Field. You know, I go to the baseball game and like my bladder is exploding. I get there, there's like 17, 18 dudes in the room and my bladder is bursting. I can't let that shit go. I'm like, yo, what's
I mean, like,
going
bro,
on
like,
over
like,
here?
listen, like, who's in the same room and being like, yo, Robert, pass me some water, like, yo, high five, and just like, you know, it's just, it's crazy.
Oh, the Eiffel Tower action, man.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. Like, that shit is weird to me.
Yeah, well, I think that I definitely understand your position, especially a guy who's in a long-term committed relationship. But we also have to make sure that we have the proper amount of compassion for a lot of these guys out here, because it's very easy to say, well, in IRL, interactions with women are just better and more gratifying. It has never been more difficult for men to be able to approach a woman and engage with them on any level, much less trying to initiate some sort of romantic and or sexual liaison. It is harder than ever. And it's safer for these guys to engage with the corn than to be called a creep because you approached a woman and said that she was attractive or wanting to go out on a date or anything like that. I think that a lot of guys would just rather do the same thing. That's the so-called safe thing that doesn't come with, disrespectful rejections or accusations of creepery or, that other thing,
I mean, but I would say this, and just in kind of the particular situation we're talking about where you're having someone, I think if you're involved in a train, I think you're good enough you'll be able to be fine enough to get a woman. I'm more talking to those men that could put themselves in that situation. It's not worth doing. I mean, we saw what happened with Trevor Bauer, right?
Yeah.
We like,
Yeah.
There has been cases where it has destroyed their lives.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ideal. I think you're just better off trying to form like legitimate, real relationships.
Yes.
To not put yourself in these difficult situations anyways. Just it'll be more fulfilling, in my personal opinion, if you just kind of have something. And maybe you're somebody that likes to stay single, maybe have flings, but if you're gonna do it, just do it responsibly. I mean,
I'm gonna go out on a limb, Cap. I'm gonna say, because this is the home of the cold truth, and what else?
A hot take.
And I got a hot take for you, man. I really do believe that it is time to start advising men to stop engaging in casual interactions, physical interactions with women. I think that it's time, because it's not that I don't want to see that guys are out there, getting theirs. Like, I want to see guys being successful with women.
Yeah.
However, it has never been so risky.
Yeah.
Even if you only engage in the Lord's missionary position with a woman that you are not really familiar with.
Yeah.
The chances that you are accused of something are low.
Yeah.
But
They're
if you are that 1 in 100, is it really worth the destruction of your lives? Because if we look at these guys that you talked about in your video on your hockey channel, even if they didn't do what is claimed that they did, they're still wrecked for life.
Their reputations are
still
destroyed.
Yeah, they're still. It's still a wrap.
No, it's a wrap. Like, done. Because like now, when Carter Hart goes into like this, all of it, depends on, even if he's innocent, right?
Yep.
Goes into a barn, like he lets in a goal, like I could just imagine the chance in certain arenas.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's gonna be vicious.
And because of what they did was so disrespectful, even if consensual, he's still going to be looked at as a bad guy, because I don't know great guys that do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that is a very good point. I mean, that is a very, very good point. And
even if he's innocent, he ain't innocent.
Yeah. This is why we talk and preach about dick discipline on this channel. You can't be just doing crazy things. I understand you watched a video on the Corn Hub and you're like, oh, wow, that looks fantastic. Let's get together there, Thomas, and just do that thing. I'm like, nah, like just show a little bit of restraint, form more meaningful relationships, and avoid headaches like this altogether.
I mean, it sounds like it makes a whole lot of sense when you say it. I look at it like this, Kat. When you watch John Wick, do you run out into the street and, you know, go find a sommelier to just give you a whole bunch of guns and just
That'd be fire, but no.
You know, just doing whatever? No, we know that there's a suspension of disbelief. It is fantasy. You leave it there.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like even if what was claimed turns out to have been consensual, I'm like, but was it really? Yeah. I have a lot of reservations, and normally we like to err on the side of protecting the public image of men, but on this one, man, I don't think that there's any way that I can look favorably upon these men in either direction, whether they violated or if it was consensual. I cannot condone what went on there. But down in the comments section down below, we would like to know your opinions after learning about the accusations. Does it matter whether or not it was consensual as far as your perception of their character as men and as human beings? Definitely sound off down below. What do you got left to say, Cap?
Again, I just think, quite frankly, you got to be very careful with how you maneuver, and to put yourself in that situation in the first place, it does make me look at you side eyes like, really? Like, you couldn't. Like, you're really that desperate? You're really that? It's a little bit mind-boggling. But men, show restraint. Show restraint, and don't always fall into your fantasies.
All right, well, we'll see you on the next one.